The Restoration was an extraordinary, if brief, period of creativity. Arts and sciences flourished under Charles II's patronage. Theatres reopened, the Royal Society was founded with Christopher Wren, our greatest architect, and Isaac Newton, our greatest scientist, as presidents. And at the centre of all this reprioritising of knowledge and experience lay sex.
It's difficult to exaggerate how sexually promiscuous and sexually open the court of Charles II was. There was no hypocrisy about this. There was no shame about it. Charles II simply had a succession of mistresses.
He had a very low boredom threshold. He liked to be constantly entertained and amused, and he loved women and loved actresses and loved all kinds of sexy goings on.
With a spread in print culture and a rise in literacy, a sudden outburst of erotica took place. Sexually explicit material, mostly imported from France, was published for the first time and was devoured as quickly as it came off the press.
One of the most obvious reasons for the explosion of sexually explicit material in the Restoration is simply that the license was there, that the brakes were off, that the repression of the Puritan period had gone.
People were so interested in the subject of sex that they read as much as they could lay their hands on. Some of them, of course, like Pepys himself, almost it became an illness.
In his diary, Samuel Pepys wrote about a particular French publication using his customary shorthand code.
The 13th of January, 1668. Thence homeward by coach, and stopped at Martin's, my bookseller, where I saw the French book, which I did think for my wife to translate, called L'École des Filles. But when I came to look into it, it is the most bawdy, lewd book that ever I saw.
And when it grows as you describe it, that's when he inserts it into girl.
Of course. He couldn't do it any other way. But there's still more enjoyment in watching the trouble he goes to in order to get it in. It doesn't go in all at once, as you might think, but bit by bit. Sometimes the boy is absolutely sweltering before he's got it in, because the girl isn't big enough.
I should be afraid it would do me some damage.
Out of the question, my dear. It always does the girl a great deal of good.
And what do you call the girl's organ?
I call it the cunny. Sometimes it's called the sheath or the thingamy. And when a boy does what I've described to a girl, it's known as putting his yard in the cunny.
And how does he manage to push it in bit by bit?
Watch me. This is how he does it. Now, watch how I move. And while the girl sees the boy moving like this, she embraces him, kisses him on the mouth, strokes his stomach, backside and thighs, calling him her dear heart and soul.
You know, love, I think I should rather like to try this thing.
Beyond the counter-reaction to Puritanism, libertinism also involved a central equation of sex, or rather the sexual prowess of the king, with power. For example, Sodom, an obscene play starring King Bolloxamine as the monarch who demands that sodomy become the only permitted sexual practice, makes a very clear relationship between an ability to rule and an ability to lust.
Thus in the zenith of my lust I reign. I drink to swive, and swive to drink again. Let other monarchs who their sceptres bear to keep their subjects less in love than fear be slaves to crowns. My nation shall be free, my pintle only shall my sceptre be. My laws shall act more pleasure than command, and with my prick I'll govern all the land.
Not only read pornography, but his library reveals he collected a vast number of printed bawdy ballad sheets.
What's interesting about the explosion of print in the 1660s is that you could buy a printed material that only cost a half a penny or a penny. So pornographic material was purchasable both by the very rich and I think also by just ordinary labouring people.